Hello everyone and welcome to today's video. We're going to do another weekly rant where we're going to talk about some DC news that's coming out. We're also going to talk about a lawsuit surrounding microwave macaroni and cheese, which is accounting for about $5 million in the lawsuit. And then we're also going to talk about the 4-day work week and a recent study that came out in regards to companies and employees' perspective and what this means going forward and potentially other markets and other industries that are missing out on any benefits of the pandemic that have happened with other companies. But first, let's get started in regards to DC news and James Gunn. So, I think the first thing, just talking about James Gunn, is that I want to give the guy a little bit of slack because in the beginning, I came up a little worried, but listen, you know, looking at DC, other people have tried it before and it hasn't worked out. I know a lot of people are going to say, well, Snyder worked out. Well, did it? Because lots of controversy there. And, the movies kept on with each release kind of not doing as well as the previous. And overall, audiences were very mixed and divided. And it was an HBO Max, the Snyder Cut. And HBO Max had no word, so apparently it didn't do as well as we would have hoped or as Snyder fans would have hoped. I'm personally ready to move past it and just move on. And I did enjoy Black Adam, but I could see, since it didn't do so well, the need to move in a new direction. But James Gunn has told everyone to be patient because he just took over Peter Safran, and it takes time to fix a struggling franchise. Now, this is not the first time that James Gunn has spoken out. Now, previous comments that he had spoken out about were other rumors that were coming out, like what he and Peter were deciding and whether individuals were coming back into the DC franchise. And he was basically saying, these people don't know anything or anything that they're talking about because only him and Peter really know what they're talking about and what the plans are. And I imagine, at least if I were like in charge of DC, I know that a lot of people were saying like, hey, it's kind of cursed, but I would be really excited to be in charge of something like that. And I would be using some source material from the cartoons and things that are working in the games and the comics. But I'm not in charge. But I thought that one of the interesting comments that actually came out from James Gunn, because a lot of people are trying to get information, not just the scoopers, which he's advising don't have much knowledge at all, but we will see, right? James Gunn answered a question when someone asked that, will the games be connected to the movies? And his answer was only one word and it indicated yes. Now, this could be good news or bad news. I've been playing Guardians of the Galaxy and also the Avengers game. Now, I would say that those games are kind of a little mixed and maybe could be, limited in their source material. So, I mean, they do deviate a little bit from the movies. So, there's that. But I feel like sometimes when a game is based off a movie, it doesn't do as well and really has lots of limitation. Mechanics are not too good, and there's a huge rush in order to meet the deadline of a movie or project. And I just hope that if they are going to have some interconnectivity, that the time frame of a movie or game doesn't hinder the quality of the project. And that is a real concern for me because just rushing things out, and DC can't afford to make a mistake under James Gunn. Everything has to be well calculated and cannot be rushed. So I get a little worried with that. Now, also I get worried because I really do enjoy DC's games. I've played all the Batman. I should say, one of them I actually finished the Batman. I plan to go back and revisit the other ones. Um, and they are really well done. I like the aesthetic of the characters. I like the story. I recently started playing Gotham Knights, and I really enjoyed the story. And there was one point when I was actually playing Gotham Knights, and it was Commissioner Gordon is dead, and his daughter Barbara, dressed up, as Batgirl, is looking up at a statue of him, and there's like this really connection that you feel there when she's looking up, that her father's dead, and she's looking at a statue of him. And I was thinking in that moment, I said, why can't the movies capture this? Why can't they capture the moments that this game is capturing and the aesthetic and all the mystery? And I think that's really like part of the Batman series and, just the kind of thinking that corner of the universe is kind of like a detective kind of thing and looking into mysteries and the bad guys and kind of dealing with it from a human perspective. Uh, so I think that that's the niche of there. And then Wonder Woman is like kind of the warrior and exploring, humanity from a other outward perspective. But really, I'm just looking at the games and I'm excited, but also a little worried as well. Now, maybe Peter and James Gunn will be the people to do it. So hopefully, I mean, others have tried, so let's just give them a shot. Why? What can we lose, right? At this point, um, I think that DC fans, including myself, have been burned so much that I just hope it doesn't bring down the whole ship. We're trying to unify the games, the comics, the animation, and everything. Because if this doesn't work, everything's going down altogether. Where you could say, oh, you know what, the movies are struggling, but the animation is doing well, and the games are doing well, or let's say the comics are struggling a little bit, right? But if you connect everything and everything is just going to be a failure, oof, that's going to be a huge blow to DC. I mean, that's like a whole sinking ship. I just destroyed the whole thing. I don't think that's something that James Gunn and Peter want on them. It is a bold move, and hopefully it pays off because that could be a very big payoff, for individuals. But I think learning from Marvel, the oversaturation could be a problem. So now we still have lots of movies to be released under the current or the previous slate or leadership. We have Aquaman, we have Shazam, we have The Flash. Blue Beetle was previously in development, and apparently, I'm not sure what's going on with the Green Lantern series. So we will see. And also, I imagine that Superman and CW will eventually be canceled, even though the reception for that has been quite positive. And I think there's some things that they can learn from that Superman of what they need to transfer to movies as far as the character and the feeling that it brings. Now I think that also some of the HBO Max series, I mean Doom Patrol and Teen Titans, may go away. Now they had a pretty good run, so I can understand that, and hopefully they get a proper ending. So overall, I'm looking forward to it and looking to see what can be done. I hope that WD doesn't make the mistake of selling their game division because I see quite talent there and really good releases. We have the Suicide Squad coming out, a Wonder Woman game coming out. I'm looking forward to it all, and I'm really enjoying Gotham Knights. So let me know your thoughts. Are you excited for this news of that the games are going to be connected to movies, or are you worried? I can understand both perspectives. So moving on to our second story, which is not related to DC or movies, but just as crazy. I read on CNN that a woman is suing Kraft and she's from Florida, for $5 million, saying that the Velveeta microwave mac and cheese takes longer than advertised. Now, on the box, and sorry, I'm just adjusting my screen here. On the box, it indicates that it takes about 3.5 minutes to actually cook the mac and cheese in the microwave. Now, the argument indicates that the package doesn't take into account the other steps involved in preparing the microwave meal, such as removing the lid, the sauce pouch that you need to open and then empty in the mac and cheese, adding the water, the microwaving and the stirring, and then accounting for all that, it makes it impossible to prepare the food in 3.5 minutes. Now, the argument indicates that they wouldn't have bought the product had they known the truth, and they wouldn't have paid as much either as well. So I wonder if the $5 million, to tell you the truth, from the lawsuit is going to go directly to her. I do agree that there's lots of products that do kind of false advertise in regards to trying to bait and switch you. And maybe it should be removed from the box that takes 3 minutes. Now maybe you could adjust it to like, hey, 3-minute cooking time. Uh, but then you can also have to add stirring time. So 3 minutes of the microwave being on. I don't know. This is how specific you have to get. We don't want to get sued. 3 minutes with the microwave on. Now my take is I'm so used to deceptive tactics in regards to this, so I think this is nothing new to me. I mean, a bag of potato chips, when they give you that whole bag, half of it, oh my gosh, tell you the truth, not even half, a quarter of it is filled with actual chips. And then we also get products where you're actually getting less in the box because they change the shape of the container for, like, let's say liquid, and they'll still charge you more or the same price that you previously paid, even though they reduced the actual fluid ounces in there. Or, for example, Dorito chips, when they said, hey, we need to increase the price of them, we need to reduce the number of chips that are in the bag. So for me, I'm like, okay, I'm used to this. Or, like, for example, like Five Below. Not anything in that store. Well, okay, some things are $5 and below. But the whole concept, when I walked in the store, I suspected everything to be there. But it's not. Is somebody going to sue them? I don't know. Dollar Tree, hey, now you need $1.25. Should I change your name to $1.25 Tree? You know, so we must have it pretty good if we've now have the time to really complain and focus on food label packages as far as their deceptive practice with time. Now, granted, there are other important things on food label packages which are important, such as ingredients that maybe shouldn't be in there or could potentially be dangerous for individuals that we do need to get rid of in our food products. I was recently watching a video of individuals who live in Ecuador, another YouTuber, search it, and they came back to the United States and they said, hey, we gained lots of weight when we came back to the United States, and we realized how many times, let's say, they ate out versus eating in. And fortunately, I'm eating out a lot now too, because I don't know where I live with my boyfriend. I don't have my own kitchen, so I eat out a lot. So I could see that, and believe me, I'm not happy about it. So yeah, lots of the foods that maybe I'm buying have a little more additives and sugar than I should be having. And sure, I think you could change that. I'm just wondering too, is also if there's more to the story than maybe what I am reading, because, CNN, who knows, could be paid off by the Kraft Corporation to put out this story there and only, push it in a certain perspective to make it see like, look how little ridiculous this woman is. This also reminds me of like a little bit maybe of the McDonald's story where a woman had gotten severely burned because of the cup spilt on her, and then she had sued McDonald's. Now, if you go more into that story and learn about it, because the way that it was perceived is like, oh, this woman's suing because, the coffee was hot. Now, the coffee that spilt on her, she was an older woman, burnt her inner thighs, and it was lots of surgery she actually had to go through, and very expensive. So, as far as like cooking for that hot and causing that many or much severe burns, sure, I could definitely understand. Like, okay, I expect to spill something hot. I got a little, red spot and like a little bit burn, but not we're gonna need surgery after surgery. So, okay, definitely get it there. So I always think that there potentially could be hopefully something more to the story that I haven't read or did not read through the article because, it is one corporation, CNN, just like Fox or anybody else, just throwing them all out there, who could put a perspective here when Kraft has so much more money to spin this narrative in a certain way. Potentially we're omitting maybe potentially something here. So even though, like, yes, story seems kind of frivolous, let's see if there's more to come from this, because right now it does, but then you think about food label packages and how they're deceptive, it could be the catalyst for the more of those changes, which maybe we do need. So let me know what you think about that story. So as my final story here is that 4-day work week. And lots of companies, there was 33 companies that contributed, there were 33 companies that participated in a study that involved their companies going to a 4-day work week. Now, 27 of the companies of the 33 did respond, and they all indicated they were not planning on going back to a 5-day work week. 97% of the employees indicated that they were going to keep the 4-day work week that were offered to them, meaning 3% indicated it was not conducive or something that they wanted. Now, employees reported that they were less stressed and had more of a work-life balance, and companies indicated that employees were more engaged. Now, I just took some things out of the article when I just read things like this, is that from an employee perspective, I think there's questions they should always ask when you're going into a 4-day work week kind of agreement. Now, how many hours are going to be considered a 4-day work week, right? Am I still going to be paid the same? Let's say instead of 40 hours, you're going to give me 36. But I think, to tell you the truth, the way that most companies are going to go, that you're still going to be required maybe to work the 40 hours, especially if you're in a less skill required area or less educational background required business. I think that they're still going to have you work 4 10-hour days for your 40-hour work week. Now, I think the other important thing is that you want to expect that if you take time off during one of those 4 days we are expecting to work, that your time off or PTO, that you're going to be expected to use 10 hours as opposed to 8 hours because you're condensing that work week into a shorter period of time. And I think a lot of people don't really think about that, but it just makes sense. So make sure you ask your company in regards to these things because, yes, you'll probably get a communication regarding the changes and all that, but it's important that if you don't understand something or you didn't read it or missed it, that you're asking these questions. You have to take ownership, I always believe, in regards to these changes and processes and make sure you're knowledgeable. Now, the other important thing that I think that someone should ask is what day can I select from? Now, I imagine not everyone can have the same day off, right? And now the business still needs to operate, so you can't just say, hey, we're shutting down, we're not going to take any calls, or hey, as a hospital, we're not going to take any patients during these days. That's not going to happen. And that would not be good for the clients, the customers, and the business. I also expect, like, with certain employers and certain businesses, that certain days will be off the table. Like, for example, let's say Mondays are your high influx days, and that is the busiest day. And even with you being fully staffed on those days, you have call outs and things like that that happen during this day. You can't afford to lose anybody. So, as a business, you're going to say, like, Mondays are off the table, but any other day you can swap out as a day off. And it's good that you ask that question just to make sure that you're knowledgeable in it. And I also think that employees should ask who their point of contact is because not necessarily is your manager or supervisor schedule going to align with you. So if an emergency happens or something like that, you want to make sure that you know who your point of contact is. Now, if you're not going to ask that, you just want to be careful because you want to be mindful that you're still responsible for the taking ownership of like not reaching out. Now, if you did reach out and no one provided you information, you had an emergency, okay, you did everything good. It's not on you. So I think that's an important point. Now, from a leadership perspective, if you are in leadership, I think these are important questions to ask. Now, you may be interested in taking these options yourself. So does that option exist for you? Now, also, who's in charge of determining the employees' schedules? Now, if you're in charge, you want to make sure that you have all the resources available on each of the business days in order to do your job, because at the end of the day, you are in charge. So if you miss a target because you approved too many people off, you're the one that has to be responsible for that. And if you already made the promise to somebody and already agreed to it, it's really hard to backtrack in regards to that. And then you're going to have an upset employee. So you want to make sure you think and plan this out very well, especially if you are given the responsibility of making these changes. Also, if you're not the person responsible, but you are in leadership, it's important that you get this information for your employees in regards to, their schedules and their expectations, because at the end of the day, you're a working piece of this. So, you should already, if you are in charge of making the schedule, you should already be aware of your employees' attendance and patterns of your teams. So that way you're appropriately allocating for your business needs. And let's not forget that your responsibilities as a leader does not change. You're still responsible for juggling all the needs of your business. If your company requires training, I think it's also important for you as a leader to discuss how training will take place to accommodate the changes of an employee having a 4-day work week. Because If somebody decides, okay, I'm going to take Wednesday because this works now with my family, I'm going to change my schedule, and you know what happens with my child's school and the pickup schedule between my husband, and all of a sudden you say, well, I still need you on training just randomly for 1 week to switch your schedule. Well, that may be hard, and you kind of want to maybe think of a plan so that way maybe the employee knows up front, like, hey, if you do agree to a 4 day work week, if you do get enrolled in training or something like that, and it's scheduled, let's say, for a month or whatever, that you will be required to, let's say, switch to a 5 day work week during that time. You know, it's important that you have this information beforehand so always no one is blindsided. Makes also your job as a leader much easier. And I think that's the important part is the information will be important for you and your team members for planning. So be prepared to ask the right questions as a leader and to get the right answers and also come up with a plan. So now my take in regards to the 4 day work week is I didn't grow up with these options. So it's going to take me time to get used to a world, and it's been really difficult for me where there's more flexibility. Uh, so I've seen it and I've experienced it, and it's still difficult for me because I worked in a factory originally, and then I went into retail, and then I went into a call center, and then promoted into a new business. Um, and I was very conditioned about a very strict environment of how bosses could treat me badly or good, right? Well, mostly bad. Like, I didn't have that line where, like, if someone disrespected me as a superior, I had the ability to speak up or had the resources. Um, and I'm 40. So for me, this is a huge change and I'm still getting used to it. I'm trying to be open-minded, and I think that's an important thing is for everyone to be, if you're in leadership, to be open-minded, not just to think negative in regards to this. Now, this is also coming at a time, at least from my perspective, I'm always trying to keep this in mind, where I see a lot of people saying, hey, you get benefits of weekends, and I completely agree. In my past life, this would have been awesome. But now my life as being also a caretaker to my partner, I really don't have off time. So for me, I don't want to get lost in that perspective that other people could benefit from this. Now, I think that more options, more flexibility is a good change for workers. As a leader, uh, there's stress in how this will impact you, obviously. But let's not forget, if you are in leadership, you're here to lead and make things beneficial for the company and employees. A happy employee is going to definitely need to be more productive work environment, which leads to less stress, higher satisfaction for the client and customers. So now, yes, I think that the number one thing is don't assume that all employees are bad. And yes, not all employees are great. All right. So it's not like, you know, everyone works somewhere where employee just does whatever the heck they want. And I'm gonna be honest, like, okay, you do whatever you want, but just be mindful, like you kind of lose your standing in the sense of like, let's say you go, I just do whatever I want, and okay, and then the company makes a decision. Okay, they're the business; they can make whatever decision they want, long as it's not hopefully infringing on your rights. So it's a weird relationship if you're in leadership to be like the in between of the employee and the business, and you see like unreasonableness in both sides, and you're trying to balance between the two, and it's a difficult thing, and it also can lead you to being not the most empathetic to the employees or let's say the business sometimes. But it's your job to do the job, and that's one of the hardest things in leadership. Now, I do wish that more employers did offer this. I find that most jobs that really do need this option, such as retail, food service, and healthcare, I do know there's some healthcare industries that do actually offer this, but I feel like lots of people on the front line who are working every day and going to work, I mean, outside of office workers, because lots of office workers got offered this, whether you're in a call center or something like that. But those workers who had to be there during the pandemic, working in a grocery store, working in fast food, and these service industries really didn't, in some instances, didn't get, let's say, hazard pay. In some instances, didn't get any additional benefits, collected unemployment, and for some, yeah, some people, I think a lot of businesses when they were strictly closed did, benefit from unemployment. But let's not forget a lot of people were going back to work if they were in one of these other industries as well. Now, they didn't get to work remotely if they were there, and lots of these businesses don't operate that way. Now, some people could said, hey, you can go into these other businesses. Now, I think in lots of these businesses, such as remote, yeah, you could go there. But right now, certain industries like healthcare, there's kind of like a freeze in some of these areas. So I don't think there's really that option. Now, I do find it ironic that a lot of the people who did stay home and were safe and were voicing the concern, like, hey, I should be able to stay home. And I saw articles and all these things about people being really upset. They were also the individuals who were going to the store and gave little thought to the actual service industry workers who were having to put up with the pandemic, all the safety precautions, and they were yelling and not wanting to put a mask on. Meanwhile, they're complaining at home, saying like, my job doesn't let me work from home, and then then they're working from home in their office job, and then treating these workers like crap. Because I witnessed it personally, and it made me really frustrated. So as those other workers, are gaining their benefits with, remote work, 4-day work week, I just hope this leads to others getting, the same. I don't think that we should look at those individuals getting 4-day work weeks or working remotely negatively, to be honest. And I hope that didn't come off that I'm trying to say that anything negative in regards to that, because I have benefited from some of those changes, such as remote work. But I think that you also want to look at as a positive for other individuals. So, for example, in the fast food area, you saw workers getting $15 an hour, and a lot of people were upset, whether they were the nursing or other businesses, and saying, fast food workers didn't deserve it. Okay, well, let's take a step back. First of all, we know that the cost of living in the United States has increased substantially, and the raises and the wage increases have never really kept up with it. So, getting upset about somebody making $15 an hour, we shouldn't be, because they're getting at least closer, but it still doesn't make up for the cost of living to potentially, being able to maybe have a nice meal or, pay a rent. And we'll get to rent in a little bit. But we should look at this as a benefit and be happy for them, because them getting $15 an hour in their business hopefully will lead to other employers having to increase their wages. And we do know there's plenty of businesses that are posting record profits or making substantial profits and not passing it on to employees. Why? Because the stock market and all those things, and you have to keep on making a profit every single time and increasing the revenue for your stakeholders. And they don't need the money because they already have lots of money. So, we should use this as a jumping off point, really. $15 an hour, the remote work, the 4-day work week, to hopefully get everyone to benefit from this. Now, one thing we should keep in mind too, with those who argue that those who are getting $15 an hour, it's unfair, you really have to look at these industries and what they do, such as retail and the fast food companies. So what they'll do is they will give you the $15 an hour, but guess what I'm going to do? I'm going to cut your hours. So do you get a little pay increase every week? Okay, maybe you do, but it's maybe $50, $20, $5, because now you cut my hours in order to give me this. And then what you also have to keep in mind is I don't have any benefits because I'm working part-time. Because most of these jobs in retail and fast food, if you're a frontline worker, you're working part-time. You're not working a full work week. So you probably also have a second job. And everyone's going to say, oh, well, that second job's paying $15 an hour too. Okay, please. Now you're stretching, because having to work 2 jobs, that's crazy. Yes, they're both part-time, but still, I think, just that one job offering full-time would be great. And now, what companies will do, because you're like, oh, Matthew, that's not really true. They're not going to cut anyone. We already know lots of people are struggling. for workers. Well, true, in some areas they will make those workers, work full time, but more often than not, in retail, from my personal experience, they're going to make the store manager work those hours. Why? Because you're salaried, and I can do that. So that's the problem here, is that this is merely an illusion. So all these complaints that you're being upset with these people for making $15 an hour, it's not really getting them anywhere. Now, some people, because they're cutting their hours, yet they're bumped up a little bit in pay for the week or for the month, and then they're going to lose their benefits, which they can't afford to lose their benefits because really what they got in a raise for the week, because they cut the hours, was like $5 to $10, $15, $20. And that's not going to help for the benefits that are helping pay for the food for the kids and or helping with the rent or heat. So all in all, you kind of see, again, the workers being screwed over. So not all changes benefit employees. Now, I do see the 4-day work week as overall a good step and flexibility but I do think that the service industry does need more flexibility. Now, I hope you enjoyed the video. Leave a comment regarding your thoughts in regards to these topics. I plan to do another video reading stories about people who work in the service industry and how businesses take advantage of them. If you're interested in these videos, or if you like what you see, hit the like button, hit subscribe, leave a comment. I like seeing everyone's comments. I like seeing the views, even if there are 2 of you or 4 of you. I really do appreciate this. This is therapy for me. Like I said, my partner has been for over a year. Now he had a stroke, and this is something therapeutic for me to get through and just talk about these topics, because a distraction rather than just sitting here and doing nothing. And it's actually nice to have someone to talk to. So that's a little bit about me. I hope that you all enjoy the rest of your day and stay safe, everyone. Thank you for watching. Bye.